Hello and welcome to Remembering Our Generations. This is episode number 9. Can you believe we've done 9 of these episodes?
Amazing.
Well, Vince, if you don't mind me sharing with folks, Vince was just sharing with me that I think people are going to find this hard to believe that he's 70 years old, man. Doesn't he look great? What a fantastic guy. Anyway,
It's no secret. It's no secret.
yeah, we love you, Vince. But let's share with the folks. We're going to be talking all about the Bee Gees today. I thought that would be a fun one to do for so many reasons. Before I let you take it away, I had a quick question. Were you a Bee Gees fan before the big Staying Alive craze, or like a lot of us, is that how you first became aware of them?
100%. And one of the reasons why was the harmonies, but the songs. I was in the big high school rock band way back in,
Okay.
and we had good singers in that band, really good. And when the drummer, came along who could sing, adding to the harmony, we did "Gotta Get a Message to You" and "To Love Somebody." We did a lot of the really big early hits from the 60s. And later on in the 70s, that band, of course, was done and over. But we always did a little bit of something by the Bee Gees because we just really enjoyed them a lot. They spoke to us
Sure,
in,
sure.
in certain ways, you know.
Yeah, and of course, as many people know, the Bee Gees were originally from Australia, and they started playing together as kids. Obviously, being three brothers, that's how they got their start. Now, the older they got, Barry Gibb is the obvious frontman, the obvious heartthrob, if you will, of the band. But I think, like we can see now, even present day, Barry Gibb has said himself, since his brothers have all passed, they're all younger than him. He's like, I could just never do the Bee Gees without them. The Bee Gees is the three of us.
Absolutely. I went back and researched their ages. Now, what the public doesn't realize that they started as children.
Hmm.
Children. They first started singing in harmony, according to what I've read, in 1958.
Yeah,
That
that's how far they go back. I didn't realize. Yeah.
that's right. That means Barry was 12 when they started. But I also researched all the brothers, their ages, their date of births, and their deaths. Robin and Maurice are twins.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they were 3 years younger. So Barry was 12 when they started. They were 9 and they started singing harmony then. And of course, that was their calling card.
Sure.
Uh, but when they made their first hit, which was really through Robert Stigwood, no, in Australia,
Yeah.
which made the Australian charts as the best single of the year when it came out, I believe in '66. So they were still teens when that came out.
Oh, sure.
1916. Can you imagine that? So it's like any other family. When you just kind of know each other, you grow together, and then of course they sent their demos and that single to England, but to Brian Epstein because they wanted to get in with the Beatles
Sure.
thing.
Sure.
But Epstein, I think, as you know, gave it to Robert Stigwood.
Yeah.
Robert Stigwood, who's the guy who really recreated or created the Bee Gees as we became to know them,
Yeah.
knew
And
them.
what's interesting is I read an article online somewhere that when they were doing the Saturday Night Live Fever, I mean the movie had already been in production, and the Bee Gees were kind of a last minute kind of addition as far as reaching out to them. And in fact, the Bee Gees initially response I think was, well, we're busy, in Miami recording our latest album. We're kind of busy right now, but so you just think about that for a minute. If they hadn't changed their mind and taken part in that, I mean, their career could have gone any number of ways.
Oh, absolutely. The timeline of how they did it. And if you go towards the later part of their career and you see any of the live stuff that they've done, the live shows that they've done are impeccable.
Sure.
Now there are some newer tribute bands who are tributing them,
Yeah.
and that's really hard to do. But it's lush. Some of them
Yeah, and let
made
me ask you, Vince, as a guy that's part of a tribute scene, I've always kind of wondered, there is, the name is escaping me, but there's this one particular Bee Gees tribute out here in LA. I think it's called Gold or something like that, and they're pretty,
BG Gold or something
yeah,
like right.
and they're pretty good. But my question is, why do you think they're so, as popular as the Bee Gees are, why do you think there's so few tributes to them? Do you think it's because of the sound? It's so hard to capture?
It's well, partly it's popularity.
Uh-huh.
They're popular. They were popular, but it's not like Beatles popular in a sense or Rolling Stones popular, which is they have a timeless sound all their own.
Yeah,
But it's what we talked about before this. It's why are there only four Moody Blues tribute
sure,
bands in the
sure.
world?
Yeah, yeah.
The vocals.
Okay.
Why are there maybe a half a dozen or a dozen or so Bee Gees bands? It's the vocals. It's the vocals. Now, those two groups I just mentioned, they're kind of neck and neck of they're right there. They're right there. They're popular. They were really popular in the day, but difficult to recreate on stage.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that. And it's interesting because, well, you're very right. The Bee Gees they've remained very popular. They've had like dips of ups and downs throughout their career, but for
Sure.
the most part, they've remained popular. But at the same time, as popular as they are, they're not necessarily the soundtrack to everybody's life.
That's right. That's right. And they broad appeal
Yeah,
because they had hits throughout the years, so they do have a broad appeal. But they don't appeal to the hard rocker. They
no,
don't appeal to the real rock and roller
uh,
because rock and roll really wasn't their thing. They don't appeal to they appeal to the disco people
yeah, yeah,
obviously
sure.
for very obvious reasons. They have a broad yet narrow appeal. It's same thing with the Moody Blues. Oh, everybody loves Nights in White Satin
Yeah, yeah.
Tuesday afternoon, but then what about the rest of the catalog, which is brilliant, you know?
Yeah, and very much like Elvis Presley before them, the Bee Gees almost have like two kind of different, Elvis has many different eras. He did rock and roll, gospel, everything in between. But like, you have two camps that think like, okay, the Bee Gees had their career before with Saturday Night Fever, almost almost a different kind of sound. And you have other percentage of the fans saying, okay, these guys sold out. They got a totally different sound. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, as they had so many iterations
Yeah,
of their group. The group was the three guys, no matter
sure.
what.
Yeah,
Okay, no matter who was behind them, it was the three guys. The great appeal was in the vocals, and which we talked about earlier, way earlier. Uh, they're a family, and it's very similar to when families sing together, they have a certain sound that you can't break. The Lennon sisters, the Andrews sisters, the Osmond brothers, all these guys were families who they all sound like impeccable because they're the DNA in
hmm,
the throats. So when I try to put a band together vocally, try to put the people in the best spots to do that. But since we're all individual family, different people from individual families, it to get the blend right to do any particular song can be a little difficult. You just got to know your slot and get the person to succeed in the right slot where that fits their voice. Hopefully, you can get a nice what they call blend, a vocal blend. With the Bee Gees, they had a natural vocal blend. There was something, though, that I did notice over time, even young, that when Robin was singing a lead or when Barry was singing a lead, they sounded ever so slightly different as individuals, but put
yeah,
them together with Maurice, and they sound like one. That is that you can't recreate that
no,
with the other people. You can try, you can maybe you want to use tracks behind you, but you're not going to have that same natural sounding blend. Even when they're doing the vibratos in their
Yeah.
voice, it seems like it's a one vibrato instead of like this, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's why when both Maurice and Robin passed, I mean there's one group of thought that is like, okay, he could get now two other guys to play in the band, but first of all, I don't think the fans would accept it. I don't think Barry would be willing to do that because these were his brothers, and it's just not going to be the same thing. I mean, when a member of a family dies, you don't go out and replace them. If you know what I mean?
Right. No, well, it's hard, you know. It would be it's difficult to do that unless there was a wait a minute, there was Andy,
I mean, you could see like some
younger
businessman.
brother, but he passed before the rest of them
I
did.
mean, I mean, you could see some businessman or some person coming along saying, "Hey, come on, Barry. Okay, I get they were your brothers, but we'll call it the new Bee Gees. You can,
Right.
but thank God it didn't come to that because I think, obviously with Bee Gees, let's be honest, it's the three of them together.
Yeah, it's just them. I do remember we talked about the early Bee Gees. Their first big album here in America was called Horizontal. It had Massachusetts on it. It had
Yeah,
To Love Somebody on it. It had so many great hits on it. And that's what drew us musicians, us young 17-year-old kids into playing their music was they were uniquely different. They weren't hard rockers. They
yeah,
were soft rockers,
yeah,
if you want to
yeah.
think of it that way. Then the album after that was Idea. The big song that I love still love it to death to these days is I Gotta Get a Message to You.
I love that, and I love Massachusetts. That was like the early Bee Gees, as you say. You could hear that's what I call the roots of the Bee Gees.
Right. They
Yeah,
had the song called World. They had so many of these really interesting songs, also created with the other two members in their group,
hmm,
uh, guitar and drums. So they were just pardon me, a
sure, sure.
unique band. Then they came out with the double album called Odessa, which was not titled Odessa,
Yeah.
and had other great hits. After that, they seemed to just die out. People lost interest in them. Then they got recreated, doing recreated into doing more of the disco vibe from around 73, 74. A great album came out called Main Course
Okay.
and Nights on Broadway. Wow, we heard that song and went, holy smokes, the Bee Gees have arrived.
Yeah.
That was, to me, became their wheelhouse. That album through the end of the 70s through Saturday Night Fever. Who doesn't have that soundtrack in their head? John Travolta walking down
Yeah,
the
yeah,
street,
yeah, yeah.
camera on his feet in the
Oh,
time.
sure, sure. I mean that's talking about the soundtrack to our lives. That's most one of the popular soundtracks ever. In fact, I think except for maybe American Graffiti before that, at that time movies weren't really well. They didn't make a big thing about having all these hit songs on their soundtrack. It became a later thing. I think actually following Saturday Night Fever, you start to see that more and more.
Well, they built those movies, those two specific movies,
Yeah.
and really enjoyed them both around the soundtrack.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
They
And
did. They built it
if
around.
you know anything about American Graffiti, oddly enough, people be surprised to learn it was actually George Lucas, of Star Wars fame, that produced and directed that.
That's
It's
right.
his first film, I think, and it actually predates Happy Days.
That's
Uh,
right.
and it features, of course, Ron Howard and Cindy Williams. So
That's what caused Happy Days to happen was that movie came out prior,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
So it spurred this whole 1950s nostalgia thing back in the mid 70s, in the
And
60s, in the
yeah,
80s. I mean, it's all like we always go back.
yeah. But that's what this show's about, and to kind of celebrate that, and because it's fun to look back and think about that time of our lives. Because I can, it's like going back in a time machine. I feel like it's the 1970s all over today, just talking about this stuff.
Exactly. The Bee Gees to me have a special place. They're one of my guilty pleasures to
Sure.
listen to, if you want to call it that, to listen to on Spotify when I'm traveling,
Yeah.
uh, driving long distances. I'll put them on the Young Rascals, the Four Seasons, these other things that play for me emotionally, you know.
Yeah, there are certain bands, Vince, that like what you're talking about. I'll go down a list, and we've done episodes on some of these artists, but okay. Um, Obviously, we're talking about the Bee Gees today. You mentioned the Beatles, Elvis Presley, the Eagles, just to name a few, but these are artists that, anybody that's around today, been around the last 50 years, these artists and their songs going to mean something to you.
And in retrospect, we talked about me being in my 70s. There's a lot of time that has passed since from my beginnings
To now.
loving music when I was a preteen, way preteen,
Yeah, yeah.
through my folks. Now, my dad, he loved the crooners.
Okay.
He thought he was Mr. Romance,
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
mom, she liked the swing and the big band, so I really got it through her. Even she was a drummer as in her high school marching band, so I get my love of music was always playing in the house. Always the 50 stuff.
Wow,
I
I love that.
remember the
Yeah.
beginnings of Elvis somehow, some way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So all of these things that we're talking about in the past, I can relate to because I've lived through them. No offense to anybody who hasn't lived through them. So this is more of us doing a nostalgia thing and
Sure.
trying to educate people, turn them on, get them interested, whatever you want to
And I
call it.
think what we've accomplished with 9 episodes of our show, Vince, here is, I mean, if you look at the title of the show, Remembering Our Generations, I mean, I came up with that for a simple fact. I thought, okay, we're two guys come from two different generations. We've known each other a number of years now. We've been doing these shows, and yet it's our love of music that unites us and brings us together.
That's right. That's right. There's so much good and there's so much bad out there.
Yeah.
It's all in the ear of the beholder and what floats your boat.
Oh, sure. Sure.
So
Yeah, and let me ask you, Vince. Now, interestingly enough, we're talking about the Bee Gees today, which, you being a drummer, they're not really a band known for their huge drum sound, and yet this band somehow got into your DNA.
it's the groove, it's the feel, it's how you feel when you hear it. That's what emotion of the music is about emotion.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, and you can make it political, you can make it love songs, you can make sad songs. They bring out that emotion in you, that connection
sure,
that you
sure.
have with a specific song. Just the other day, I started to re-listen another guy I like to listen to, Harry Nilsson.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Beatles did so many different styles of music, but always interesting. From a listener who's a musician, I listen differently than maybe you might listen,
sure, sure.
which is the average listener. I'm listening to how everything blends together, how the arrangements
Yeah,
go. That's what I like about the Bee Gees. Their music, while it's similar yet different, the different arrangements, how they came up with the vocal arrangements was incredible. How they let Maurice go up into the higher atmospheres with his
yeah,
falsetto on those songs, which became a signature sound of theirs. Um, the creation of music is is a kind of a mystical thing, a
sure.
magical thing, and yet it's mathematics, but that it reads into your emotions. It's supposed to come in and grab you and pull out whatever it is that song is supposed to say. Now, this is why people say, well, I'm a this drummer or I'm a that drummer.
Mhm.
Something that's going on Facebook, the way people are talking about the
Sure.
style of drummer. I'm what they call a feel drummer. You play for the song. When I was doing Bee Gees songs, I wanted to come across with the feeling of what's in those songs. Now, people who have seen me perform through the years understand that I'm not a great technician. Maybe they think so when they see me play. I'm not particularly fast. I'm not Neil Peart. I'm none of those guys. I'm not a big time jazz drummer. I just play for what the song needs and
Sure, sure.
supposed to feel, so you can feel what that song's supposed to be to translate it if I'm
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
copy, you know.
And yet, Vince, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but probably the reason that you're a drummer that gets a lot of different type of gigs is because you're so versatile as a musician. You can play more than one type of music, and as a live performer, it's one thing to be in your bedroom, your office, at home, listening to Bee Gees records, but when you're performing live, I mean, you want to give the audience that live experience.
It's about the feel.
Yeah.
And so I remember that I'm going to give a nod to my stepfather. My father passed away when I was young, 16.
Okay.
Stepdad saw something in me that had said something to me about knowing how me from the
Yeah.
musician.
Sure.
And so we would go to certain weddings, and I would do dance or feel the music in a certain way. And he said to me one time privately, he says, "You become the music." And I thought that that was a very interesting observation
Yeah.
to come out of a human being that I never thought he was a guy from the military. I never thought anyone would see that part of me, but then it just realized, you know what? He kind of is right.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah. Wow.
and that's
That's
about playing for the feel of the song.
yeah.
And this is what I love about what the Bee Gees are. They give you a certain feel when you're driving along or just casually listening, or you're watching a video on TV, or you're watching one of the movies that there's a soundtrack. You feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And nobody can make you do that but the
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah. I really hope one day they'll do a Bee Gees movie. I think they really deserve that. But I will say, Vince, when they were at the peak of their career, I mean, not just Saturday Night Fever, but Barry Gibbs like wrote some of the music also for Grease, the movie. And they were hit song makers as far as not just Bee Gees hits, but they wrote songs for other people. Everybody from Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. I think I was reading even Diana Ross.
What about the one that they did with Barbara Streisand?
Yeah. Oh
The-
yeah.
So, yeah, there are, just so you folks know, there are plenty of good documentary stuff on the family of the Bee Gees, of their history. I've seen a couple, and they're very informative if you want to, don't write them off.
Yeah.
They're a big part of music history. I'm glad that they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all of that, you know.
And for a while, the Bee Gees did, like around the 1980s, there was that whole kind of kill disco movement, and where as popular as all those artists got, they started having where these DJs would say, let's kill the disco records, let's go, we're going to show up with the bulldozer and run over these disco records, and so what I'm saying is their popularity waned a little in the 80s, but I'm so glad before the brothers passed away that they got that second shot in their career, and they
Sure.
remain, like you said, pretty popular. They really haven't gone, people know who the Bee Gees are. People still celebrate them today, as they should.
That's right. They had even to me later on, after all their main period was over, some fantastic performing
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, and there's a couple of really good videos of concerts that they
Mm-hmm.
have done, and just if you're interested in the history of the Bee Gees, go watch the documentary. Go watch Saturday Night Fever. You probably have seen it 25 times.
Sure,
Some of
sure.
you, it's some of you who are a little older who are watching this, remember getting on the dance floor
Oh, sure.
to any of those things in a disco. In,
Studio
studio
54, remember in New York?
I
I know.
couldn't get in.
Yeah, yeah,
I couldn't get in. We're gonna get your butt out of here, you know. But those were the days I have bittersweet about, because being in a very popular band way back then, it kind of killed live music,
oh,
the
wow.
disco thing, you know. Us live rock musicians, it took over so much because why? DJs,
Yeah,
DJs came in, you know.
yeah.
But thank you, Mr. DJ. You do a great service, but you really hurt us live musicians for a while.
I got to
But you
ask you,
didn't kill us
yeah,
entirely.
yeah, I got to ask you, being a drummer music slash musician, did you ever get a chance to, like, because disco, like you said, really wasn't your thing, but do you ever get a chance to ever play those tunes, if you know what I mean, or give it a shot?
Oh, of course, absolutely, absolutely. And you get tired of it, at times. But you want to give the people when you're doing cover music or tribute music is
Uh,
slightly different. But if you're going to cover band, you want to play to a certain audience and you want to give them joy. You want to get them out on the dance floor. So everybody does play that funky music,
there
white
you
boy, and such. Even my son, who's now 33, 34, 35, is playing in a band that plays a lot of Latin music. And what do?
go. Yeah,
They
yeah,
end their nights with stuff like that to get people on the dance floor and send them off. It
yeah.
works.
Yeah, and I don't think most people really, I never really gave this much thought, but as you were saying today, a lot of the disco music necessarily isn't centered around a drum beat, but it's got great groove. You can hear it.
Exactly. It's music has always been uh, popular music
Sure,
lately, since the 40s, 50s, has been about a style, a groove, and a generation. It's all about that because every generation has their own.
sure, sure.
The Gen X has theirs. The Gen Zs have theirs now.
Yeah,
Uh, Us boomers had that.
yeah.
My mom's generation had the 40s and not even the 50s, but the 40s and sometimes some of the 50s
Oh
because
wow, wow,
you
yeah,
see what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
the teenage years that
That was
really
their generation, right?
it was their generation. And it seems that to be in your teens
Mhm.
when you're really busting out, when that music comes for that particular part of the generation, teens and early, maybe mid-teens, mid-20s, somewhere 12 to
Wow,
25,
wow,
26. And it seems that every generation, this block of
yeah,
time, and there's something different that they need to hear, or some
yeah, yeah,
feeling
yeah.
that they need to feel. And the Bee Gees hit kind of a tween
Sure.
time. They crossed the end of the rock. They didn't even do the hard rock like Led Zeppelin or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Then they bridged the gap into the disco era, and then into the 80s, they had a whole bunch of hits as
Oh,
well.
sure, sure.
They, as you were saying, wrote other material for other people. So they really bridged 40 years. Same thing with the
So, and so that's a great a great place to end because even when their popularity kind of went down in the '80s and they weren't having to hit records like they used to, they were still able to make a living as songwriters. And even today, you can imagine Barry Gibb in retirement is living off those royalties of those songs they wrote for the other artist.
They were performing straight through until Maurice got ill and died.
Yeah, and
They were so that part of their life just went on and on, and I'm grateful that we had that time that they created
sure,
because they created some beautiful music, some
yeah.
emotional music, and some fun dance party music
Yeah,
too.
and like you said, when Maurice died, it was very sad and unexpected. He went in. I was reading for like surgery on his intestines. Something sadly happened during the surgery that went wrong, and then
Yes,
we were left with the two for a few more years. And then sadly, Robin died of cancer. At least
right.
for a few years he had his brother Robin. But I seen an interview recently, Barry, and he said, he goes, now I'm the eldest brother, but I'm the only one, still here. I've lost all my brothers. He goes, and I think he put out a solo album recently or something, or a couple of years back. He said, this is
Right.
probably my last thing I do because it's just not the same doing it without my brothers.
Right. And remember when they did that disco thing, Miami.
Yeah,
Miami became their center.
sure.
And Barry lives there still to this day.
Well, I want to thank you for doing this, Vince. This is a great episode, as they all are. I want to let people know, first of all, we're a few weeks away from Memorial Day, so everybody has a happy Memorial Day, a few weeks from now. And when we get together in June, Vince and I discussed this, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing an episode on ABBA.
That's going to be a riot.
Yeah.
They kind of they got a little on the inside too, just like the Bee
That's kind of
Gees.
what made me think, okay, what's the next logical, artist to talk about? Bee Gees, ABBA, they're kind of right in there.
And then finally, after not finally, but after that, we just discussed before we went on the air, the Rolling Stones, who have come out with something, coming out with something new. We've heard a couple of tracks, and boy, I've got plenty to say about them.
I think the
You
new
know.
studio album comes out in July, so we will once we get a chance to hear the whole album, because I'm going to get it, and I'm sure you are too, Vince. I think that deserves to be talked about.
Oh, no, so absolutely. They have a career. They have had actually about 10 careers.
I love the fact that they're still going at it at their age.
Yeah.
I mean, Mick Jagger's as old as Joe Biden, and he's still doing it. They all are.
Tell me about it. Hey, dude, thank you so much for all of this. This is really
Thanks for having me,
rewarding.
Vince. I couldn't do it without you, my friend. Take care.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Okay.